One God, amen. So, for those who were here last week, we started a new book. Those who haven't been here for a while, welcome back. First time faces, welcome. So we started a new book last week. It was the book of Daniel. And I was trying to explain last week. I took the whole week before to figure out, which book. I would talk to the priest and be like, hey, which book should I do? And they're like, no, whatever you want. And I knew that if I said Daniel, everybody's going to think that it's because of my name. But it has nothing to do with me at all. One of the things I really like about the book of Daniel is it's about a person who is in a really messed up world. And he has to stand out. Or he chooses to stand out, and God rewards him over and over and over again. So, quick recap. We're starting chapter 2 today. Quick recap of how the book, just kind of the overview of the book. So it's written by Daniel, and the way it is was they were in. So this is the site or the scene is in Babylon. And the Jews had just messed up and the Babylonians kind of took them, and now the Jews are back in captivity in Babylon, which seems to be the story in almost every book. It happens so often. We see it from Exodus, we see it here, we see it many, many times throughout the Bible, where God's people, right? The Jews were God's people. God's people are in captivity. They are under another reign. There's a new king. And in this case, the king is Nebuchadnezzar. Fast forward, Daniel came from a royal family. So, like a well-off family. So the king went through a period of time in chapter 1 where he was kind of creating a team, like a bunch of soldiers. So when you're thinking about, you're now handpicking. You have it's like a draft. You have everybody in front of you, and now you're picking. So he's starting to pick people, and he's preparing them. So he tells his, I don't know what they call him, the chief of eunuchs, right? Kind of like his little governors, to pick people and prepare food for them, basically to fatten them up, to get them ready for them to be strong. He wants them to be their good slaves. So Daniel and his friends are there, and the king puts out the king's food, and Daniel and his friends don't want to eat. And we talked a lot about that last week, about what does the food symbolize? What's the purpose? Why not eat? Was the king's food bad? King's food is good. It's the best food in the world. But they didn't want to eat. And we talked about the idea of fasting. And that fasting is not... There's a common misconception in that fasting is only about giving up bad things. No. Fasting is about giving up good things for greater things. Giving up good things for better things. That's what fasting is. I feel like sometimes we destroy what food is in our minds. Oh no, you have to hate burgers. No, burgers are okay. But fasting is not just replacing. It's about taking a step further. So we talked about that, and then funny story. What happened was all the people that the king's eunuchs said, okay, well, if you have to eat of this food, because this is the only way you're going to be healthy. And Daniel's like, no. Get me some vegetables, and I'll be fine. And he's like, no. You need to you need to be fit. The king's going to check. And he's like, no, just trust me. Give me some vegetables, and me and my friends we're going to be fine. So what happened was they ate of the vegetables, And he told them, give us 10 days and test us. So I guess they had like a weigh-in or something, or like they went back and they evaluated. They saw the people who were eating the king's food and the people who were eating Daniel's food. The people eating Daniel's food were in better shape. So then the king's like, all right, this is great. Maybe they're like super vegetables. Let's give it back. Let's give it to the people. And obviously it didn't work. So it just shows us that when we stand out from society, stand out, and it doesn't have to be standing out in extreme ways. But we talked a lot about last week about we were made to be different. Christ tells us we're not of this world. So so the fact that we're not of this world, that means we have to stand out. We have to be different than everybody else. And sometimes, like, that's the scariest thing to tell, let's say, a junior high school kid. Hey, be different. Because what's their number one focus when they're in school? To fit in. But as you get older, you start to develop your own personality, your own decision making. But then we get stuck again. We get stuck in, like, right now it's not about fitting in. We just don't want to stand out. We don't want to stand out. Like, we're a mature group that wouldn't, even if one of our friends is doing something wrong, doesn't mean I'm going to fall into the same sin. But what we fall short of is taking it to, like, standing out. Does that make sense? So Daniel wasn't afraid to stand out, and that's why the phrase "dare to be Daniel" comes from. It's like this idea of like standing out from the crowd. So chapter 2, it continues with post that story, and it talks about another story that happens, and it shows that God is like rewarding him for standing out, and you'll see different things that happen, and it's very interesting. So if we can start Daniel chapter 2, if somebody can read from 1 to 6. Whoever has it.
Now in the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. Then the king gave the command to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said to them, I have had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to know the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will give the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me and its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made an ash heap. However, if you tell the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts, rewards, and great honor. Therefore, tell me the dream and its interpretation.
Okay. Weird start to the story. First verse. Now in the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, he had a dream. His spirit was deeply troubled, and his sleep departed from him. He had a nightmare. The king had a nightmare. And this nightmare didn't allow him to sleep. So you're very powerful. Okay, this king is very, very powerful. And now he's powerful and cranky at the same time. Like, he didn't get enough sleep. He's trying to figure out, like, what's going on. So what does he do? What does he do? What does the king do? How like, imagine him like just frustrated in the morning. What is the first thing he does?
He calls people to interpret his dream.
He orders and summons anybody who has any idea to do anything, like any sorcerer, any magician, anybody. So he mentions the enchanters, the magicians, the sorcerers. The Chaldeans were known at that time as people who interpreted. So that was one of their things. Like they were like a group of people that had that sort of reputation. To tell the king his dreams. Thus they came and stood before the king. Here's the awkward part. When, let's say, you have a dream, okay, and you want somebody to like, hey, like this is so weird. Like, does that make any sense? Like, what's the first thing you're gonna do? You tell the dream, right? Yeah, guys, the weirdest thing happened to me, blah, 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 blah. Or forget dreams, okay? Because that might be a little bit, I personally don't get dreams. I don't know why. I don't know. Either I dream, I don't remember them, I don't know. But let's say it's a story, okay? Let's say something happened to me. And now I'm trying to, what's the first thing, if I'm going to be like, explain to me, like, why would this happen? What's the first thing I have to do? Tell it. Here, the king refuses to say anything. So he just imagine, the king comes, he sets up a room full of people, and these aren't like rookies, these are magicians, like these are big, top guys, and he's saying, you guys tell me. And they're like, what? Like, you brought us here, you tell us and we'll explain it, we'll interpret. They're like, no, tell me my dream and interpret it. So that's what happened. So then the king said to them, the king had a dream, and it speaks in third person, and my spirit is deeply troubled to know the meaning of the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in the Syrian language, O king, live forever. Tell your servants a dream and we will tell you its interpretations. Seems like a valid request. It doesn't seem like anything crazy. Just tell me the dream and I'll do my best. It says, the king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the dream has departed from me. If you do not make the dream and its interpretation known to me, you shall be destroyed and your houses be plundered. A little bit, I'm telling you, he's powerful, cranky. Not only does he doesn't even remember the dream. He's like, you're going to remind me of my dream, you're going to explain it and interpret it to me, and I will bless you. If you don't, you're all dead, and your houses and everything. Like, it's not only am I going to kill you, I'm going to turn your material, like your homes, into plunder, into a dump. That's it. I'm destroying everything you ever had. Under what condition? You need to tell me my dream. That's the only way you'll survive.
So his nightmare became their nightmare.
Exactly. Yeah, and the way he is taking like this approach. Now imagine you're one of these people. Like, okay, maybe like let me try it again. So then they said again. Verse 7. But they answered a second time and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will tell you its interpretation. The king answered them, truly I know that you are trying to gain time, because you see that the thing has departed from me. Therefore, if you do not tell me the dream, I will know that you have agreed beforehand to give my dream a false and corrupt interpretation. So before any more time passes by, tell me my dream, then I will know that you can tell me its interpretation. He's now he's saying something. It's just weird at this point. Like, I have a dream. Tell me the dream. Stop wasting my time. I know you're trying to buy time. And you can imagine, what do you think the feelings of these people are?
He's crazy.
No, like the people, these sorcerers and
Probably terrified.
Terrified. Their life is on the line, and there's nothing they can do. Like, what are you going to do? If you make up something, he wants the exact dream first. He doesn't want the interpretation. So then it continues. Verse 10. The Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is no man on earth who can make known the king's dream, and there is no great king or ruler who asks such a thing as this of any enchanter, magician, or Chaldean? The question you ask, O king, is difficult and above expectation, for there is no man who can tell the king his dream except the gods, whose dwelling is not with any flesh. Then the king, angry and furious, commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. He decreed that the wise men be put to death, and he sought for Daniel and his friends to kill them. How would you react to this? What do you get out of this first section? Okay, king is crazy. What else? What else?
No stability.
No stability. But let's forget the king. Let's talk about the whole situation. What do you think? What's going on?
It might be a premonition from God, and usually people who have premonition act crazy.
Okay, so you think that this was like a plan from God?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm spoiled because I already read the book.
All right. No spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
It's actually a prophecy because later on when we read.
Yeah. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it for everybody. But exactly, it's a plan from God. When I read this, I think of a dead end. I think of no hope. Like, sometimes we're in a situation, like I want us to put ourselves not in the king's shoes, forget the king, but in these people's shoes. My life is on the line, and I'm going, like, that's it. There's no way out. How should we react in that situation? What should our situation, like, how should we, where's the positivity here? What do you think?
Whenever I feel that way, I remember that God specializes in things that seem impossible.
Great way to look at it. Does this situation seem impossible?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, really quick, before we see what happened, let's go back to verse 17 in chapter 1. So verse 16 is the part where the king realizes, hey, the vegetables are working. Let's give it to everybody. So in verse 16 says, thus Melzar took away their food and wine and gave them vegetables instead. Verse 17 says, as for these 4 young men, who are the 4 young men? Daniel and his 3 friends are who? What are their names? Yeah. Yeah. Azariah, Abednego. Yeah, Hananiah, Shadrach. It's the way you say the names. In one language, it's one name, and in another language, it's another name. Yeah.
Meshach, Abednego.
Is that right?
Yeah. So the 3 names are either Hananiah, Shadrach, and Mishael, or Meshach, Azariah, and Abednego. Okay, I know they're hard names, but just for our sake, it's Daniel and his 3 friends. So as for these 4 young men, God gave them understanding, insight in all letters and wisdom. And he gave Daniel understanding in all visions and dreams. So the tables were set early on. So if you just stopped in chapter 1, you're like, well, why would he give him the understanding and insight in all letters and wisdom, and he gave Daniel understanding in all visions and dreams? It wouldn't make sense. Now it makes sense, because now he's put him in a situation to do something.
So he can shine.
So he can shine, but God doesn't do things, he doesn't give people talents for them to just shine for the sake of shining. He doesn't give somebody a good voice so they can just sing aimlessly all day. he gives people gifts for a purpose. We don't know that purpose until later. So when he received that gift he wouldn't have realized it at that time. Sometimes God prepares us way before. God prepares us some way for a situation later. Whatever the situation is. Whatever the situation is. Now, let's talk about these dreams or visions. Are they from God or not? What do you think? Huh?
Yes.
From God, okay. Are there dreams that don't come from God?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the purpose of dreams or visions?
God's giving you a message,
Okay? So we see that a lot in the Bible.
giving you a sign.
Exactly. We see that a lot in the Bible of messages. Like when Joseph was sleeping, he received a vision. What was the vision? Joseph and Mary, and St. Mary.
To leave and go to Egypt.
Leave and go to Egypt. Right? Archangel Gabriel appeared to him in a dream and said, take the family and go. In the
Jacob's ladder.
Jacob's ladder. All throughout. Joseph, that was the way he got out of prison. Same way that Daniel got out of prison. How did Joseph get out of prison? What did he do? He interpreted dreams. So something as just a general thing. The devil doesn't know the future. The devil is limited. The devil is in the here and in the now.
He's not omnipotent.
No, he's not. He's not omnipotent. He's not all-knowing. He's not. So
All-seeing.
So in this case, these magicians, these summoners, these Chaldeans, these guys, they weren't believers of God. Right? They weren't believers. They even said it. Like, this is unheard of. We can't do this. This is impossible. Only gods, not even the gods that are here, like just these random gods, lowercase g, like they don't believe in God, our God. So in this case, it shows us that the people who live of the world are limited, because their God or lack thereof, whether their God is Satan or they don't believe in God or Satan or anybody, their God is limited.
The God of this world.
Yes, the God of this world. So these people are worshiping not God. Okay? Doesn't matter who they're worshiping. But the point is, they're limited. They even said, like, we can't. So the devil can't know the future, and he can't change our mind. He can't do any of that. What the devil can do is set like traps for us. The devil won't, like the devil can, like for example with Christ, last week we read on the temptation, he was up on the mountain. What did the devil do? How did the devil try to like trick Christ?
After things.
Just very simple things, huh?
Influence.
Influencing him how? By just like talking to him like about needs, like you must be hungry. You haven't eaten in 40 days.
Trying to manipulate him.
Manipulate. If you're hungry, just change this rock the stone into bread. That's all. Like, it doesn't even seem that harmful. Like, if you think about it, it doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world. But Christ knew that this was the devil. That's something I want us to realize. The devil is very smart. He's not going to trick us into making us fall into crazy, huge, big sins. Because he knows that certain things we have a limit.
Step at a time.
But he'll say like, hey, read the Bible. But not today. Not today. You have a long day. Don't read the Bible today. Read double tomorrow. Don't go to liturgy today. It's been a long week. You need to sleep in. Don't go to liturgy. Hang out at home. You have so much work to do. Studying, work, family stuff. Like, just take care of that. And then, next week, you know what? Go Saturday and Sunday. You're so spiritual. The devil, that's how the devil operates. He messes with us that way. Yeah, Jake.
Well, his latest weapon right now, through history, everything's been, we understand what he said and how he did it. His latest weapon is, he says, we can't tell them God is not real because they believe it's real. We can't change their mind. He goes, what we can do is tell them later. You can study it later.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah.
You're on a later program. Later. Wake up and
so that's how the devil just plants little seeds. I feel like sometimes we, even Christ tells us, be careful of the little foxes. Why? Why the foxes? What about the huge bears and the lions? Why the foxes?
They're smart.
Because they're the ones that fall through the cracks. They're the ones who fall through the cracks.
Cute ones with big ears.
So he's worried. He's worried about. Christ is telling us, protect ourselves from the smallest things. The smallest things could cause complete destruction. Like, I'll tell you. When you're like in a house, you can be ready from all storms. You can be ready from all types of fires and all this stuff. What's the scariest thing for a house or a building or any structure? Termites. They'll eat at the foundation. Foundation is, once the termites get involved in the foundation, forget it. You have to remove the walls and you have to do crazy construction. Why? Because the foundation could fall. Just from what? From these little bugs that you barely can see. So here, the devil, we find out that the devil cannot interpret dreams. He cannot. He's limited. So let's treat him like he's limited. God shows us here the reason why he gave Daniel those gifts, the understanding and the visions and blah, 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 for this purpose. So if somebody can read from 14 to 23.
Then Daniel answered with the counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to
Hananiah,
Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changed the times and the seasons. He removed kings and set up kings, and gave wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that they know understanding. He revealed the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells within him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made me know unto me now what we desired of thee, for thou hast made me known unto the king's matter.
Okay. So Daniel saw that people are about to die. He said, well, what's going on? And one of the king's men told him. How did Daniel respond? How did Daniel respond?
Mercifully.
No. Like, let's see. Like,
what? Killed, right?
Well, so the captain of the king's guard, who went out to kill the wise men of Babylon, he asked him for what reason the bitter decree had come from the king. Then Arioch, the king's official, made the reason known to Daniel. So Daniel went in and entreated the king to give him time, and he would tell the king his dream and its interpretation. He saw that people are going to die.
For not being able to interpret.
And then he went, for not being able to interpret. He went and approached God, approached the king first. He approached the king. To do what?
Intercede and have to buy some time and save their life.
Not even buy some time. What was the purpose of him going to the king? What did he ask the king to do?
To give him
Huh? He said he'll do it.
Yeah.
He said, just give me some time.
Yeah.
And I'll do it.
Yeah.
So there's many people in the Bible that are types of Christ. When you hear the word type of Christ, you see these people symbolize Christ in one way or the other.
Savior.
In this way, Daniel found out that people were going to die, and he went and told the king. Was it his role to go do this? Was he like, he's not one of the summoners, he wasn't asked to come. It's not like he was part of the group that came. But he saw a problem, he saw people suffering, and he interceded. He was the middleman. He went to prevent it. Putting it in our shoes for a second. How often do we see people perishing around us? Every day. People who are struggling, people who might feel like they have no hope.
Down and out.
People who are just stuck in bad situations. Whatever it is. We all know people. We all know people who are going through rough times. For whatever reason. People who feel distant from God. People who don't know who God is. People who can't connect to God. For whatever reason. What are we doing to prevent them from dying? Because sometimes we only look at death in a physical way. And what we have to always remember, that there is a spiritual death. So for example, if I break my arm, right? Like, I fall here and I break my arm. I guarantee people are going to be like, oh, let's take you to the hospital, this and that. Like, we'll go. Because they see this need and they'll help me right away. Or, if you know somebody who's on their deathbed, you're going to go and help them in whatever way. Like, if you know that they have a certain disease and you want to go and make sure they're okay and help them, and whatever you can do, you're going to do. Now let's imagine somebody who has a disease and you have the cure for that disease. You have the cure. Let's say you both had a disease. You got the cure and now you're completely 100% fine. Would you be willing to take that? If it's a physical disease, let's say it's, like, I know that there's no cure for like cancer, right? Let's say there's two people with cancer. One person somehow found a cure, and he goes to that person. Would you go to, if you have the cure, would you go help somebody?
Yeah.
Absolutely. No one, I don't know a single person, forget religion, forget anything, I don't know a single human being that has a cure for something and they're neighbor or their friend or their
Hold back.
anybody, and they won't do it. But we do that with spiritual diseases. We do that with spiritual diseases. Because we don't want to be the type to be overbearing. We don't want to be that type to overstep our boundaries. We're very careful with boundaries, right? We're very careful not to make the person feel uncomfortable. But I mean, if that was the case for a physical illness, would that stop you? If you have, I know that I didn't like taking medicine when I was younger. I still kind of don't like taking medicine. But that didn't stop my parents from basically force-feeding me medicine when I was younger. Like, I had to. They knew that medicine equals me getting better. So they did everything they could. Even if I was giving them a hard time, like shoving them out of the way, whatever it was, they made sure I took it. They never considered, you know what, we don't want to bother him. We don't want to overstep the boundaries. Daniel here is doing the same thing. Daniel doesn't. This is a rough situation. He's going to the king. What authority does he have? Nothing. He's a slave. But he's going to this king. Why was he not intimidated by this king? Because he has a greater king. He's the son of a higher king. So he doesn't care. When we always remember that we have God on our side, or we're in His family, what is there to fear? What can I be scared of? We talked a lot about that with David. What can David be scared of? David, this little kid, went and fought Goliath with no fear for anything. Why? Because he knew God was on his side. Because God showed him before. God showed Daniel here what happened before. When he dared to be different, when he decided not to live like the rest of the world, God rewarded him. We're here living in Babylon. There's no difference. We have other kings. We might not have Nebuchadnezzar, but the ruler of this world. The ruler of this world is still active. And if you talk to somebody, even if we talk to our parents, when they first, some of our parents, most of our parents moved from Egypt, right? So when they came, I guarantee society was much different. Very, very different than it is now. So in the past, 20, 30, 40 years, it changed. Why? What changed about it? What do you think the biggest change is? Even from when we were younger. I'm not even talking about extreme. What do you think changed?
The laws and orders and morality.
Well, laws and orders changed, but I think what made some laws change is your third point, morality. Technology was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. You can't.
Internet.
But internet is. There was we just saw there was a questionnaire that was saying, would you rather live without internet or without the ability to read, or something very
Dramatic.
and most people decided, who cares if we read? I want the internet. I want to have the ability to just be connected. But that's the point. Oh no, sorry, it was speak. It was not speaking ever, or not having the internet, or vice versa. Having the internet but not speaking at all.
Internet.
Most people.
Internet.
Most people would want the internet. Most people would want the internet.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, see, like, because why speak? I have the internet. So my point is, society has definitely gotten more screwed up. Like, there's no easy way to say it. But our God hasn't changed. Our God hasn't changed. And our God is still able to get us out of Babylon. Still able to defeat these weird things that happen. So let's see what, in this part, what Daniel did. So when you're put in a tough situation and you just received, like in verse 17 in chapter 1, he gave Daniel understanding in all visions and dreams. So Daniel went in there with confidence. He's saying, I got this, guys. I got this. I'm going to take care of this.
Without having it.
But what? No, he had.
I mean, without actually receiving it, but having the faith that he'll have it.
Yeah.
May I say something?
Yeah.
About the last verse, chapter 1, the general statement about Daniel.
Yeah.
Till this time, he doesn't have this gift.
Yes.
Right.
That means when he went to the king, he still just relied on his faith.
Exactly. No, but my point is, he went in with confidence.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he knew that God will do this.
Deliver it.
One more thing when we compare about Nebuchadnezzar and Pharaoh, because the Pharaoh of Egypt and Joseph's time, he tells us the dream.
Yeah.
And he didn't expect someone will fool him.
Yes.
Or just say
Yes.
anything about the dream or the false.
Yeah.
But then, here this king is more tough. And he's harder than Pharaoh. And Daniel was in much better situation than Joseph.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and this was an evil type of king.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a different level than Pharaoh. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your statement. You said that he only relied on his faith?
Yeah. Last
Right.
verse in
That
chapter 1 says that.
God will do it.
Yes.
He will show him on due time.
So, but that's something that we learn from many people in the Bible, that
Right.
we're scared, like if we hand out a test, we'll all pass it. Like, oh, who's God, this and that. Like we'll get straight A's. But the confidence and the faith takes experience. And then you're able to stand up against the devil, or in this case, the king, or the world in general, like just society in general.
Wow.
So there's the beauty of Daniel. He had faith, but what else did he have? Yeah.
May I say something else?
Sure.
Here in verse 14, then as counsel and wisdom Daniel answered.
Yeah.
I think here Daniel wisdom shows he asked for a time. He didn't panic or just went quickly. He asked for time.
But we'll see what he did with the time.
Yeah.
Time out.
To just be with God.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first thing he does is ask for time. But the second thing, so Daniel went in and treated the king to give him time, and he would tell the king his dream and his interpretation. What do you think the king's response was?
He has no other. He should.
He's like, oh, I tried everybody else.
Here's his last.
They're actually on their way to die right now. So let's see how this goes. But sure. But basically, like, if you don't, you're going to die. You're even a slave. Forget being a magician and a sorcerer and like a powerful person in the kingdom. You're most likely dead either way. But let's see how this goes.
Well, he wants his dream interpreted.
He does.
So he's
Any chance? Yeah, that's what Negi's saying. He's like, let me just see whatever. Let me try whatever it takes.
Until he speaks.
And then Daniel went to his house and made the matter known to his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They sought mercies from the God of heaven concerning this mystery, that Daniel and his friends might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon.
Yeah.
That's a key verse right there.
Mm-hmm.
He went back to his friends, and what did they do?
Pray.
They sought God. They prayed. 1 second.
Esther did the same thing.
Exactly. It happened throughout.
Yeah.
It's not a. This is a normal thing that everybody does. But for some reason, we struggle with this. We struggle with this point. You know what? We can even get the confidence to stand up for people. No, don't kill the wise men. They didn't do anything wrong. And we can feel confident. We can even reach the confidence where we stand against something that's wrong. We can even do that. Go up to the king. But to have the wisdom and the faith to ask for time to pray about something, that's so hard. That's so hard.
He was so young.
He was young. And not only was he young, his situation is not that good. He's a slave. He's in a foreign land.
Got no rights.
No rights at all. So he's in a situation where everything's against him. But he looked at this and said, no. This, I need time to go back to my friends and to pray to God. There's many different things in this part. Why did he go to his friends? I mean, he could have just went to another room and sat and prayed. Why was this part important?
The collective praying.
Okay.
Very important.
Why else?
More powerful. God says, when two are praying.
When two or more are gathered, I'm in their midst. Very good. What else?
Gives them hope that God is real.
Okay. So, one aspect is what Jacob said. The fact that there is power in numbers. That's something that we forget too. I know many people that, and I personally, I was like that at one point, where my spiritual life is my spiritual life. That's personal. That's just me. We can go hang out. We can go grab food. We can go play ball. We can, you name it, do whatever. Let's go watch a movie. Me and my friends, we can do everything but God, because that's a personal thing. That's just me and him. It's me and God. Yeah, what am I going to talk about? Like my sins? That's what I do with my Father confession. That's just, what am I going to do? It's not. Daniel here shows us the importance of friendships. We see it in the Bible with the man, the paralytic. Why was that man healed? His friends what?
Yeah,
they brought him. Yeah. That's one. So they're the actual physical part of them bringing.
Collective.
What else? Their faith, their super strong will, determination. There's a perfect word.
Yeah.
If you have a friend that's sick, and you force them to go to the hospital, and you take them, and they tell you it's on lockdown, doors are closed. You're gonna climb the side and throw them from the bottom, I'm talking about getting in regardless. They went through the roof. This is unheard of.
Odds.
Against all odds, it doesn't make any sense. It's not even like what the rest of society does. This is not normal. But they did it. What here is happening too, it shows the power of a group of friends praying. I can't express how I laughed when I was reading it this past time. Like I've read it before and I never focused on this part. And I always remembered the part that, Daniel went and prayed. And that's a strong thing, and that's something we should all do. But the fact that he went to pray with friends, that had nothing to do with this, first of all. He's the one who decided to step up. He's the one who decided to tell the king. He's the one who decided, give me some time, because he's going to interpret the dream. Now the friends are stuck in this situation, like, why me? I didn't do anything. I didn't sign up for this. No. I'll tell you, for me personally, my group of friends helped change my life. And I don't lightly say that. And it's not because, it's not a peer pressure thing. It's, for me, it was my group of friends. We all messed up together. We all kind of were in La La Land and living in Babylon on our own. Messing up. When we messed up together. Like we all got in trouble. We all messed up. But then when we personally had experiences with God, that has to happen personally. But then collectively, encouraging each other. So when I'm about to fall, I know that somebody's going to pick me up, push me towards it. And I'll never forget certain moments of let's meet up and pray. Let's just meet up, pray, and then we can go play ball, watch a game, go out to eat, whatever. But the first, let's meet up, let's pray, and let's
put God first.
It's not just God first, because sometimes we put God first, and then the devil second, and then we're still messed up. But it's put God in everything.
Right.
So conversations.
Yeah.
Not corny conversations. I'm not saying everywhere you go have a Bible study, but in this case, they're all praying for something. They're all praying for
God's will.
Not just God's will. They are praying for God's will, for understanding the mystery, for understanding the vision, for understanding all these things. But it's not just about this dream. It's bigger than this dream. And when you pray for yourselves, when we pray for our own, it becomes sometimes one of the funny things, in St. Paul says this in this 1 Thessalonians, when he says, pray without ceasing.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Non-stop.
Yeah, what? Practically, what does that mean?
Continuously.
Remember God all the time. Constantly thinking about God. But when we stand up to pray, okay? And let's say we put up a challenge, okay? See how long you can pray in one
setting.
In one seating, one period of time. Okay, without stopping. How long you can pray without being really bored, without being really frustrated, without not having words to say. Many of us would struggle. And it's not due to our weakness. It's actually the opposite. If we feel like we're weak, we're going to pray more. But what changes is praying for things. Praying for people. When we stop when we're less selfish with our prayer,
right,
our prayer changes. When we stop praying about me, God, you please help me do this. Help me with this problem. Help me with this problem. God, if it's your will, make this happen. God, me. These are all good prayers. I didn't say anything silly. These aren't childish prayers. These are real, true prayers. But what God is teaching us constantly is turn the prayer into for others.
Intercession.
Intercession is one aspect of it. But I'm not even just saying I'm just going to throw in, I'm going to pray for Jacob today. No, I want to go deep in my prayer. So I'm going to really go deep. Like if I have friends that I know what they're going through, or family members that I know what they're going through, why not spend the time praying in depth for those people? Because that's when change happens. That's when real prayer happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, we have to be careful not to make it selfish. And here, Daniel, we see it. Look at his prayer here. And that's what we'll close with tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It says, let's just read the prayer and then we'll take questions.
Thank you.
It says, from verse 19 he says, then the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision during the night. So he got
the same night.
Right away.
Boom.
So sometimes we say, God, I've been praying for something for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
You haven't given it to me.
All right.
When it's God's time, God's time is perfect. Over any of our time. God decides. Then in the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision during the night. After that, Daniel woke up from his dream. Similar to Nebuchadnezzar waking up from his dream, but it's a little bit different. What did he receive? He received the same dream, right?
Yeah.
Look at how Nebuchadnezzar reacted, and look at how Daniel reacted. It's the same vision.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nebuchadnezzar was shaken up, frustrated, angry, freaking out, all these things. But in this case, Daniel, it says after that, Daniel blessed the God of heaven, saying, thank you. May God's name be blessed from now on and forever. For wisdom and understanding belong to Him. He changes times and seasons. He appoints kings and removes them. He gives wisdom to the wise and insight to those who have skill. He reveals deep and hidden things. And He knows what is in darkness, and the light is with Him. I give thanks and praise to you, O God of my fathers, for you have given wisdom and power. Now you have made known to me what I asked from you, for you made known the king's vision to me.
Mm-hmm.
What did you notice about this prayer?
His experience with God, based on what he was told by his parents, and his answer to trust God, to wait for
sure.
God.
But what else? Yes, you can tell he has a strong relationship.
Experience.
Yes.
The experience getting stronger and stronger, and God is in control. Yeah.
God's in control.
Right. God
what else?
Better.
Gives glory to Him.
Gives glory to Him.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Gratitude. It's focused on who? God. Focus on God. Real prayer is focused on God. Weak prayer is focused on us.
Me. What about?
And I'm not saying weak as in like don't do it. That's not. Please don't take that as a take home, because we should ask for things. We should pray for certain things. That's okay.
Yeah.
But the focus of the prayer shouldn't be me. The focus of the prayer is God. God, you are the one. He says, you're the one who appoints kings and removes kings. So this Nebuchadnezzar guy, it's nothing. So I'm not worried about him. He's talking to God with reverence. He's talking to Him with passion. He's thanking Him for whatever is going on. To me, this shows us how to step away from the world, how to not be of this world, how to be Daniel in the midst of Babylon, and Babylon. I'm not even talking about Babylon. Doesn't have to be Northridge. Babylon doesn't have to be the Valley. Babylon doesn't have to be LA. Doesn't have to be the country. Babylon could be our own home. Babylon could be our own
family,
group of friends. Babylon could be our own, sadly sometimes, church. Right? It's about stepping away and going to God. Focused on God. Yeah.
So, based on what I was asking about last week,
sure,
this seems to be related in that correct me if I'm wrong, but Daniel didn't have the gift of interpreting dreams before this, correct?
We see it here.
Okay, so remember, and
Yeah.
you had disagreed with me, that I was saying, like, why can't we pray and ask God for the gift of, like, all the things that Jesus said?
Spiritual gifts.
May I answer?
Spiritual gifts.
Right, but and not for me individually, but all of us should be doing it, in my opinion.
Sure.
It's not like it should just be one person, so nobody would be.
But remember, we talked a lot about like how these gifts are given based on need.
And we need them.
We need them, but we don't. Like if the world had all doctors, it wouldn't be a better place. It would actually be much worse.
But
No offense to anybody in the medical field. No, because it's not just, you can't have one gift.
no, but all of us should have that one in addition to whatever.
So here, what Daniel had a relationship with God. Daniel God used Daniel and gave him this gift. And we know it's from God. How? Because the devil can't interpret dreams. We just saw what happened to these people who thought they were going to use the devil. So in this case, we see when God has a perfect time and a perfect place for a purpose for certain gifts. Does that make sense? No. Okay. Well,
Daniel.
we'll talk. Yeah.
Okay.
Daniel wanted to be used by God. He wanted to be the interpreter of the dream. He volunteered himself even before God. I mean, it's a two things operating. Him willing to be
willing.
God,
Yes, willing.
God wanted to use him as a
Sure.
I wasn't here last week, but on chapter 1, verse 17, doesn't it say that that was his thing?
But I'm saying he didn't.
He didn't have.
He didn't.
know he had the gift.
Well,
That's what we. Yes, that's what happened. But her question is, why couldn't
We
all have that gift?
oh, so he did have.
God gave it to him.
Yeah.
No, God. knew he all had
That's
it.
not the. That's not the.
God
Yes.
knew. God knew.
Because what I understood from the question, now I understand it the opposite again.
Sure.
What I understood is that he didn't have it till then. No, he always had it.
Sure.
Till the moment
Sure.
needed.
Yeah.
That's a very nice question because just we continue the discussion we had last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Daniel here, he asked God to save him and his companion.
Find a way.
Yeah, he didn't ask for the gift. And God's response was so quickly because the time was so limited.
Sure.
Then God gives a gift to Daniel, not his friends. That means specific
Very good point.
for specific people.
Very good point. And they're all praying, and they had this.
Right.
But Jesus said that you will know that the kingdom has come upon you, and these signs will follow all those that believe.
What
We
signs?
should all be doing.
No.
What
Signs are
He also
different
said,
than.
raise the dead and cast out.
Yeah.
But even within that, he said many people will come to me and say, Lord, Lord, I've
Uh-oh.
casted demons in your name.
Uh-oh.
I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this.
Uh-oh.
And I will say, what?
I don't know.
I don't know you.
Wow.
So it's
That's scary.
It's just a matter of
Excuse
also
me.
like handling it.
That's scary.
You know what? In some ways, maybe it's not good for us to have certain gifts. We won't be able to handle it.
But if all of us are doing it, then there's no room for us to be prideful.
And it's also not.
That's not true.
Yeah.
No,
If
there's
we all have
complete,
it,
complete picture for this. First, he said this to his disciples. It's specified for his disciples.
To his followers.
Sample.
His followers. Are you followers? I'm not.
Jacob.
The followers.
Then sample, he defined it. He said, not all the gift is for all the people.
Yeah.
Not all the body is an eye or a neck or a head or a leg or a hand.
Mhm.
Then he defines the gifts
Right.
based on the church.
Right.
Like Jesus Christ, he gave same gifts to the 12 disciples.
Mm-hmm.
Then for the church, it's different. Based on the church
Edification of the
and the
church.
people. Just, I cannot even say the spiritual limit. No, it's the people. Some people can cope with some gifts, and some people cannot. But yes, he said to the disciple, I give you those gifts, but he specified to them. We are disciples as well, but we didn't receive the same power they had. Why?
So,
I'm going to just complete it. If we go to Acts chapter 3 or 4, I cannot remember exactly when
Stephen.
Pentecost?
No. Stephen?
No.
Upper room?
Philip?
Philip?
Not Philip. He met
Ethiopian.
Enoch. He baptized him, but he didn't receive the Holy Spirit. Why?
Water baptism.
Because he was not from that 12 disciples. He was from the 70 apostles.
Right.
He doesn't have the same gift.
Right.
Then, even in Samaria, when they came, St. John and St. Jacob, they put their hands upon them, then they received the Holy Spirit. Because it was from the 12.
So we can talk about it. We can talk about it after Nancy had something.
I was just going to say, I think sometimes we underestimate that we all do have a gift. It doesn't look the way that we want.
Develop.
Like,
it's a great point.
Sing people into a fit, or like it's not the big stuff, the raising people from the dead. But I think that the real gift that Daniel had is that he was available to be used by God. Like he had such a close relationship that God was like, "This is perfect. I can use you for whatever."
You've already proved yourself by stepping out with the food thing or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's when, like all the people in the Bible, that's when they really shine, and we see the shine. But really, the true gift was that they had a close relationship and they were available to be used.
It's a great point.
Saw that
It's a great point. It's a great question, and I'm glad you brought it up from last week as well. But we can talk. Let's close. Let's close, and then we can discuss it. Whoever wants to stay. I have some.